Hi everyone and welcome along. Today we're going to do the perfect card if there is a gardener in your life. So it could be a birthday card, a thank you card, it could be the front design for a note card, but it's a gardening theme. So grab your paints and let's get started. So I've got a piece of watercolour paper that's just tucked under there because it's already cut to be a card, and I've put a little score down there, leaving me with a 5x7 inch card, so a 5x7 inch shape there. So of course the whole piece of paper is 10x7 inches, and I've got my large Pro Art Connoisseur pointed round. This is a really brilliant brush to have in your kit, available in my shop, because it's not quite a mop brush, but it's just, you get a little bit more control with it because it's just a little bit smaller, and it's just really fantastic for big washes but good control. So the brush is wet and I've got some nice dilute turquoise, cobalt turquoise, and all I'm going to do is I want to create a diluted sort of nice pale wash on this card as a backdrop, and I want it to be nice and sort of wobbly and organic as a shape. So I used diluted blue in the first place, and now I'm just stretching it a bit further, working quite fast, and there we go. That's going to dry 100%. And then what we're going to do is we're going to paint some little gardening icons on the card. We're now going to draw some gardening shapes. So I'm going to draw these in quite a naive style, but follow along at home. So I'm going to begin with a spade. So 2 parallel lines for the long shaft of the spade, and then a handle, sort of horseshoe handle, and then do a sort of rough rectangle shape. Of course, you could think of anything really that you wanted. So there's our spade. I'm going to do a little plant pot down here, because of course if you're gardening you hope that you're growing something as well. We'll have some welly boots. We'll do 2. So I make them taper just a little bit, then kick out the toe, a little bit of a wobbly heel, and then I'm going to do some littler things, do some those really nice scissors you get. So curl around, and string always seems to be quite an important thing. So a roll of string for gardeners. Up the side I think we'll do I'll do a little sort of pitchfork thing, so another U shape down like that, and then we'll make a little handle. So you can see these things really are very basically drawn, but the other thing is they are drawn with that sort of naive style as a purposeful thing. So you'll see this now with the gloves. I'm going to do some gardening gloves. So there we go. And then I'm going to do one the other way up. And I bet I'm going to struggle now. 1, 2, 3, little finger. There we go. And then we'll finish it off with a watering can that already feels like it's more like a kettle or a teapot. Okay, so that is a lovely sort of fairly spaced out, sparse set of simple garden utensils, which feels like a nice amount of things. Now watercolour is of course a translucent medium, it's not completely opaque. So to make sure that our shapes can be painted nicely and clearly, we've got a few things to think about. The wash behind is nice and pale, but it's still going to sort of have a bit of a presence on the back of the card. So I want to choose my colours wisely. I want to make sure that they are going to be strong enough to stand out, so I'm going to paint things just a little bit more concentrated. The other thing is the choice of colours I go for. I'm choosing a colour palette that suits that turquoisey colour, so the complementary colour to bluey, that sort of turquoise colour is the sort of browny orange tones. So I'm going to look for those, and also a nice strong green for any sort of plants, and maybe some of the actual items there as well. So I'm just mixing up my colours. We'll get a bit of a grey tone in there too. The other thing you could do if you wanted is to mix in a little bit of opaque white, either Chinese white, which is a watercolour sort of white, which is there for thickening. I'm just going to try buff titanium actually. It almost feels like it might make things just a little bit more opaque. Or like an acrylic or a gouache, you can always add that too. Okay, so I've got my colours ready, and I'm going to start with my sort of orangey brown tones first. So let's see how we go. There we are. So starting off with a nice terracotta pot, and I'm painting them in the same sort of fairly naive style, so I'm not sort of tidying them up or neatening them up or anything. I will just, whoops, pencil flying across, so we'll just put that line in there. You might want to try a size 0 brush if you feel like you want a bit more control. But I quite like this for now. So these first washes, you can see they're strong enough, aren't they? They're not completely translucent and pale. I'm going to paint my gardening gloves green. I think this is good timing for this card, because a lot of us are finally heading out into the garden. I know the true gardeners have been out all year round, I know this, but us fair weather gardeners have been waiting for the weather to get a bit nicer, and now we're all out enjoying it. We've had quite a long, cold, wet spring in the UK, and with it being mid-May, we're finally getting some sunny days, which is wonderful. So I'm just going to fill in these, and I'll fill in the wellies too in green, so we've got a matching set, and then we'll keep going with our washes. I've also coloured in the watering can, string and scissors with this Payne's Grey mixed with buff titanium, and that's worked really nicely. I'm very pleased with that. Now I'm going to look down here, and before I start sort of painting branches and things, I'm going to paint leaves. So sap green leaves, and I'm just using my size 0 brush to just paint in little brush strokes, and you can see I'm sort of painting them in areas that aren't necessarily all where I've drawn branches. I'm sort of creating a nice shape really, and then yeah, no, I'm pleased with that. And then I thought I could just get a little bit of Mars Black. I'm just going to experiment, see if I mix that with a bit of the cobalt turquoise. Yeah, that's a nice colour. I didn't want it to be really solidly dark, and just to be a little bit different in colour to the watering can tone that I've picked up. So I'm going to finish off painting all the last little bits in these washes, and then we can let it dry and add some detail. Now our card is dry, it's time to paint on some fun details. And so what we've got to do now is find colours that are either more concentrated or just a little bit more dark and rich and intense. So for the orangey colour, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a mixture of cadmium orange and cadmium red to make this much deeper, richer colour. So let's begin with that, shall we? So I've got a 4/10 brush, and I'm going to draw a nice little sort of terracotta detail on the pot, and I want to do this in a nice naive style. So there we go. I think that looks really nice actually. Now I'm going to take just some burnt sienna, nice and concentrated, and again with my 4/10 brush, just clean it up a little bit, get a nice fine point. I'm going to just run a few lines to make some wood grain. Could even do a little swirl. And there is the wood. Okay, so next for some green gloves and green wellies, I've added some Payne's grey to some sap green to make a really sort of deep dark green colour. And I mean, there's all sorts of things you could do, but keep it simple. You don't need to do tons. But what is nice on these little cards is keep on sort of reminding the viewer of the themes. So I'm just going to put a simple little leaf sort of motif up the glove, and it's nice because I've got one going the other way, so I can do it upside down as well. For the wellies, let's see, we have a little, wellies have a little buckle thing, don't they? But maybe, yeah, let's do a line on the top. Just trying to think how this buckle works. So I'll do a little rectangle with a line over the top like that. There we go. And I know it's not all on the same side, they're on the outside, but hey ho. I think I might do the same little motif on the wellies as well. Make it just a tiny bit longer. Okay, so then this colour will be useful, I think, for just helping the string along, so I'm just going to use it as a little low light. There we go. And then for these scissors, I can never quite sort of get my head around how they work, but a little bit on the point and just a little bit of a low light like that. And then for the watering can, and you know what, this garden has a theme, so I'm going to run with it. And I really hope this encourages you to have a go and realise that even the simplest of designs and the wobbliest of designs can be really charming and joyful. And remember, you're giving this card to someone you love, and as speaking from experience, as someone who's had a birthday last week and received a wonderful amount of homemade cards, it's the best. It's the best thing ever. Okay, last but not least, I'm just going to use some regular Payne's Grey to do some low lights on my metal. Oh no, it's not last, is it? Because we've got the plant. So for the plant, I'm now going to take, well, I'm going to change my water over. Look at the colour of that. That looks like proper garden water, doesn't it? So with fresh, clean water, it is important to refresh it if you're just using a single glass. I'm going to use some of this orangey red, and I'm going to add little berries, little clusters. Gosh, feels like Christmas saying that. Because I think it's important to just have this little extra accent colour. There we are. And then to finish off, some concentrated burnt sienna. We're not worried about joining every single branch up to every single thing. It's all about just making sure there's a nice shape to the piece. There we go. So we're going to let that dry 100% and then we'll rub out the pencil. And there you have a wonderful gardener's card, perfect for any occasion. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed that one. I want to say a huge thank you to our patrons for their support, because that support enables us to keep creating videos like these that everyone can enjoy. And if you enjoyed it, then hit the like button and comment below to let me know how you got on with that one. And of course, if you never want to miss another video, then hit the subscribe button and the little notification bell, and we'll see you again next time. Bye!